You don't remember becoming mature. You remember becoming quiet. Something inside you decided it was safer not to need too much. You learned to read the room before you learned to read yourself. Other people's moods mattered more than your own feelings. That wasn't empathy. It was vigilance. You were praised for being strong, for not crying, for handling things alone. No one asked what it cost you. You felt older than your age, but not wiser. Just tired in a way that didn't make sense yet. You didn't feel protected. You felt responsible. And that feeling never really left. You didn't choose this. Your nervous system did. It learned early that safety meant control. But here's where it gets worse. What once kept you alive is now quietly shaping everything you are. You think you grew up fast because you were different, more mature, more aware. But this is where most people are wrong. This wasn't your personality. It was survival. A system adapting to unpredictability. Children aren't supposed to be calm under pressure. They're supposed to be protected from it. You weren't, so your mind stepped in early. It learned patterns. It predicted danger. It stayed alert when others slept. And here's the part you always ignore. That hyper-awareness wasn't intelligence. It was fear doing its job. You became easy to deal with, low maintenance, independent. Because needing less meant risking less. You stopped asking for help before you ever learned how. You stopped expecting consistency. Disappointment became familiar. This is the illusion. I'm just built this way. But you weren't built. You adapted. And adaptations don't disappear when danger is gone. They linger. They become habits, identities, relationships. What saved you once is hurting you now, quietly, repeatedly. Growing up too fast doesn't make you stronger. It makes you faster at coping and slower at feeling. Your nervous system learned urgency before safety, control before comfort, awareness before rest. And that system still runs in the background, even when nothing is wrong, especially when nothing is wrong. Because calm feels unfamiliar, and unfamiliar feels dangerous, so you stay ready. This is the axis of everything that follows. Not weakness, but a body that never learned how to stand down. You pride yourself on being emotionally self-sufficient. You don't lean too hard. You don't ask for much. But here's the painful part. That strength was learned in absence, not abundance. You learned not to expect soothing. So you became your own regulator, your own anchor. This wasn't independence. It was early emotional isolation, disguised as maturity. And now, connection feels strange. Too close feels unsafe. Too distant feels lonely. So you hover in the middle, present but guarded, available but unreachable. And this explains why nothing changed yet. Because the same system that protected you is still choosing distance. You think constantly, not because you're curious, because uncertainty feels dangerous. Your mind scans for outcomes. Your body braces for impact, even in calm moments. This is not anxiety by accident. This is conditioning. A nervous system trained too early. Control became your language of safety. Planning, predicting, preparing. Always one step ahead. But here's where it turns on you. Control kills presence. And presence is where life happens. You don't rest deeply. You don't trust silence. Because silence once meant something was wrong. So your mind keeps talking, keeps moving, keeps you from feeling what's underneath. You attract intensity or emotional distance, rarely something balanced, because your attachment learned inconsistency. Care came and went. Safety was conditional, so part of you expects withdrawal. Another part expects to perform. Neither expects ease. You confuse chemistry with familiarity, and familiarity with love, even when it hurts. This wasn't a bad choice. It was a known pattern. Your nervous system choosing the familiar. And here's the painful truth. Healthy love can feel boring at first, because it doesn't activate survival. So you second-guess it, overanalyze it, sometimes sabotage it. You tie your worth to usefulness, to being reliable, to not being a burden. Because early on, love felt earned, not given freely. So you kept earning. Achievement became a shield. Productivity became proof. Rest felt undeserved. But here's the contradiction. You work so hard to feel enough, yet never arrive there. Because worth isn't built through effort. It's built through attunement, something you rarely received. So your identity became functional, useful, adaptable, but emotionally thin. And this explains the quiet emptiness. Not depression, but disconnection from self. Your body remembers what your mind normalized. Tension in the jaw, restlessness in the chest. You're calm on the surface. Alert underneath, always listening for shifts. This is not weakness. It's a system stuck in on. A survival loop without an off switch. And your body pays the price. Fatigue, numbness, difficulty relaxing even when safe. Here's the painful part. Your body never learned safety through experience, only through avoidance. So slowing down feels threatening. Letting go feels reckless. Even joy can feel suspicious. Not because joy is dangerous, but because it's unfamiliar. And unfamiliar once meant pain. There's grief in realizing this. Not loud grief. Quiet. Internal mourning. Grief for the childhood you didn't get. For the safety you simulated. For the softness you postponed. And anger may surface. Not outward. Inward. Toward the unfairness. Then comes recognition. A deep, quiet, of course. Of course you adapted. You didn't fail. You survived with the tools available. And they worked. Relief follows. Not happiness, but understanding without blame. And then, quiet. A pause your system rarely allows. A breath that goes deeper. You begin to see yourself differently. Not as broken, but as patterned. You notice reactions without fusing with them. Tension without judgment. Distance without shame. You realize healing isn't becoming someone new. It's letting your system learn that the danger is over. Slowly, repeatedly, through experiences, not ideas. Through safety, not force. You don't rush this, because rushing is the old language, and you're learning a new one, a language of presence, of enoughness, of being without bracing. You didn't grow up too fast because you wanted to. You did it because someone had to. And now, you get to grow differently.